Told when I love squad members, I can't act cool.
Hey young, this your beat? Nothing lasts forever, I don't got tattoos. I love squad members, I can't act cool. I like my bitches short and thick and ain't gotta act rude. She won't treat me like I'm the rest, cause I ain't that dude. I see some things as a child that change my thoughts forever. Try to do right, I'm on their ass and I won't fucking let up. Hit from the side, bitch, don't be lazy, lift your fucking leg up. To all my niggas going through a struggle, keep your fucking head up. Anything you going through, I'm a witness, it won't last forever. Just stay down and hold your side, don't change up like the weather. If he around me, then he got a ruler, but he ain't trying to measure. I gotta inhale me some weed to get my thoughts together. Hard in me something but my heart cold, so I got a rock sweater. We came in this roll alone, so we ain't gon' leave out together. I know I'm blessed, I know my worth, so I can never settle. You can't show yourself before you only time can tell it. Kill one time to fuck up, then you can't go here. No deal, I got too many stuff to bring a pole here. No deal, I won't set my soul ain't high and go here. I won't school here, stay loyal to my niggas and my face stick to the cold here. It's a new 40 on my hood, the bitch to blow here. It's a different dope inside the blood, we get a low in. Smoking on some dope from across the country, got a joke in. Treat the bitch like a receiver, put the bitch emotion. I'm drinking on some shit that change a mood, we call it potion. Can't even hide the 30 and they clip it, baby, poking. And up off them beam, we got some smoke, they get it going. White girl playing with her, no Lindsay Lohan. My little cousin slipped up and lost a baby, she was 16. Ain't doing shit for free, I want 200 for a 16. Glock with a dick, 30 clip with a red beam. She make it hard for me cause all that nigga sold a big dream. Don't lose on thug behind no shit you saying that you ain't me. All my niggas slide, you know what's up, bitch, you can't play me. I see the picture clear, my life a movie like it's HD. I'm a 50K screens and I ain't got no books on say cheese. Light a little whip and when I up it, better say cheese. This life taught me some lessons, fuck the school, I want a degree. I'm just trying to take care of my people, how you hate me. When a nigga got caught with that elite, the shit was crazy.
Bitch. The trap baby shit don't do that.
All right, what's going on, everybody? I want to welcome you all for episode number 56 of the Get Hook podcast. As always, from week to week, this is your boy Hook.
And your favorite Crystal.
Keep lying to yourself, Chris. Keep lying to yourself.
See, listen, you woke up today and chose violence, and now we got to fight.
All right, so check this out, right? So today's episode is actually brought to you by Black Friday Market and Intermittent Cleaning Services, located in Raleigh, North Carolina. A little bit of information on them going. I'll give a little bit of that out later. But if you want more information on them, you can find it at www.blacknc.ninja. All right, cool bean. All right, so today we're going to be discussing Black Education Matters and specifically highlighting the HBCU experience. Now, I want to be crystal clear. All education matters, so we're not saying that one institution is greater or not. However, we do understand that there are some misconceptions about the HBCU experience and some of the things that HBCUs have to offer these kids. So that's going to be our focus. Plus, we Black, and that's kind of what we do. We support each other. So, it is what it is. All right. So, Chris, what you got to say about it?
I do believe that, and this is just my experience. I cannot speak for everyone, but I will tell you this. When I was 16 years old, I walked into the guidance counselor's office because I didn't have the mom or the grandma or the family that would go up to the school and find out what I needed. So I did what everybody said, talk to your guidance counselor. And I told my guidance counselor what I wanted to do when it came to school and stuff. And the guidance counselor told me, oh, that's nice. I think you should go to Midlands Tech first for 2 years and then transfer over to USC. So I was like, okay. So I went to Tech. My first year at Tech, I got pregnant with my oldest daughter. And I was like, I don't think I want to stay here. So I then spoke with the admissions counselor at Columbia College. That woman looked me dead in my face and asked me why I didn't come there first. And I was confused. And she told me I had the SAT scores and the GPA where I could have gone straight to Columbia College. And I realized then I was getting my information from the wrong person, because if I could have gone there, where else could I have gone had I known what I needed to know? So, with that being said, I'm very passionate about education. One of our guests, I've known for quite some time, and she schooled me on making sure that I prepped my children from classes to teachers to test scores to the whole 9 yards. And it made me realize how many other parents don't know what classes, what courses, how many of us don't know what's required. Everybody want to go somewhere great, but how many of us don't know what is required of our children to get there? How do we get a hold of these scholarships? If I Google it, hell, I get spammed. So we want to know, what do we do? And I realized I wasn't the only parent that was clueless or the only child that was misled. That's why we're in today.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing, Chris. And we have some panelists here. And we got a double dose today, though, because not only are they HBCU graduates, but they're also educators. So I really can't wait to hear about the conversation. Coincidentally enough, though, they all went to South Carolina State. So, so the Bulldogs are deep today, right?
Heavy in here with the Orangeburg Bulldogs.
Right. All right, guys. So if you'll go ahead and let everybody know who you are.
Hello, I'm Libretta Hall Jacobs. I am a mother of two. I'm a mother of a 22-year-old that's in the military, and I am also the mother of a 18-year-old that, as of next Tuesday, will be moving down to South Carolina State University, class of 2025. I am also an educator. I teach third grade in Richmond School District 2. I am entering my 28th year of teaching. It is my passion. It is what I love. Um, and I attended South Carolina State University, class of 94. And the reason why I attended South Carolina State University is I'm a product of Richmond School District 2. As I grew up and came through Richmond School District 2, I was not fortunate to have teachers that looked like me. Now, don't get me wrong, I had some phenomenal teachers, but my teachers and administrators didn't look like me. But I was in a class at Richmond Northeast High School where I graduated from, and it was an occupational child care class. And that particular teacher that taught that class told me she felt like that I was a natural born teacher. So that is one of the reasons why I went into education. However, I went to an HBCU because I wanted to attend a school with the majority of the people that look like me. Plus, I did my homework as I was looking at the different education departments. South Carolina State, in my opinion, had one of the best that was out there during my time of attending. And that is the reason why I attended South Carolina State University.
All right. Good stuff.
Good evening. My name is Cordero Grant. I am from Allendale, South Carolina. I attended South Carolina State University. That's right, snaps. I attended South Carolina State University class of 13 and a class of 19. I am a member of the oldest and coldest fraternity. That's Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. I am, and hey, don't shake your head, Jeremy. It's all right. I am an educator in Orangeburg, South Carolina. I teach third grade as well, ELA and social studies at Brookdale Elementary School. Funny story, I did not want to go to South Carolina State. I actually said that I would never go to South Carolina State. I ended up going to Payne College in Augusta, Georgia, and I transferred to state, but it was because of financial reasons that I left Payne College. But if I had the finances, I would have stayed at Payne College. But I'm glad that I made the decision to transfer to South Carolina State because I love South Carolina State. Their education department is just on point. The teachers, take care of you. They make sure that, you have what you need. I met one of the best two professors, Dr. Marion Robinson and Dr. Margaret Felder Wilson. If it wasn't for those two, I probably would have not made it out of the university. Also, one other professor, Mrs. Stephanie Phelps. If it wasn't for those three, I wouldn't have made it out. So that's me in a nutshell.
All right. What's going on, everybody? I
Jay.
am. All right. I'm Jamie Brunson. I am a three-time Bulldog. Class of 2001, class of 2004, and class of 2010. I'm currently in my 21st year of education. I am a school administrator. I'm a middle school principal at Fairfield Middle School in Windsboro, South Carolina. I'm going to my third year of that principalship. Prior to that, I served as assistant principal at Fairfield Central High School. And prior to that, I started my career at Lower Richland High School. I taught mathematics. I was a school counselor, director of school counseling, assistant administrator, coached football, had the world's greatest high school step team, Lower Richland Diamond Dogs. Education has education runs deep in my family. So, I was blessed to have family members that really pushed the issue of obtaining a good education. There are several teachers on both sides of my family, and I'm definitely indebted to a lot of them. I chose South Carolina State University. It's been a family school of ours. I was accepted to several institutions, but I knew that I wanted to attend South Carolina State University. And side note, I was a member of the world famous Marching 101 band, where I played tuba and sousaphone for 4 years. Actually, just finished co-authoring a book about my HBCU experience in band. But that was one of the main reasons that took me to South Carolina State. I went to be in the band, and education was second. All all jokes aside, man, the band taught me a lot of things that helped me in life today. Number one, being disciplined. That was one of the main things you learn. If you ever went to an HBCU, or if you attend an HBCU, you know that there was a price to pay to join any organization, whether it be the band, the choir, or whatever the case may be. But you were taught to respect the university, you were taught to respect the organization, and these life lessons, help us today in our adult lives. But I love South Carolina State University, and I would, if I had to do it all over again, I would go right back to South Carolina State. So go Dogs. And I am
It's
a member
amazing.
of the Omega Psi Phi Incorporated.
I knew he was coming with it.
2001.
Go ahead, Ms. Hall Jacobs.
That's right, because I am a member of the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
There it is.
No, but
we are extremely
go ahead,
excited to have you guys on. A couple of things that touch my heart about this episode. For one, I am looking at 5 Black successful people with degrees. They like to say different things about us and what we do and do not do. I went to a women's college. Hook went to USC, but all 5 of us went to and finished school. And not to knock anyone who did not, but to know what it takes to finish, that's not easy, because college wasn't forced on you. College was something you chose to do and you had to go through and complete. If I would have known then what I know now, I would not have gone to the school that I went to. Not that I didn't love my experience, because it allowed me to raise kids and go to school, but I would have gone to HBCU. I wouldn't have gone to Midlands Tech. I would not have done that jump right into the job force type life. I would have embraced the collegiate experience that I really wanted to. But I love that, I laugh with Jamie because he over there hollering about he coached the greatest step team of all time, and see if he forget he competed against the greatest of all times. But I met him when I was in school, and then I went from coaching I went from him coaching the team I competed against to we coaching with each other, working with teams together. When I worked with the middle school, I went from competing against his team to sending him steppers to compete on his
He
team.
did. That's right.
Dopest experience ever. And we watched all of our babies grow and be successful. A lot of them went to HBCUs too. So I really appreciate all of you being on here. As a parent of a high school student, a rising middle school student in another year or so, we need you. We need your guidance. We need your experience. We need your understanding. We need to know what we need to do to, they say get it out the mud, and it's like a good thing to do. I don't want my babies to do that. So today I've been texting parents, it's on now. Log on, log on. We need to watch it. Get your pencils. Because we need to know what we need to do.
Absolutely. And to echo Chris's sentiments, I'm glad to have you guys on. It is truly refreshing just to see you guys here simply because not only did you go to HBCUs and excel, but now you're there to teach the younger generation coming up, of the value and the importance of not just going to school, but also at least considering attending HBCUs. And that's really the perfect segue into the first question I want to ask you guys. And we were talking about it backstage a little bit, but when a lot of these kids are applying to colleges, a lot of people, from my experience, they don't necessarily put HBCUs in the top echelon of their list. HBCUs are more so, well, I'm going to apply to USC, I'm going to apply to Clemson. If I don't get in, South Carolina State is going to be my backup. So obviously we know that based on the level of education, the number of people that come from South Carolina State, they're by far and away no one's backup. They should definitely be one of the top priorities. So I do want to ask you guys, not just about South Carolina State, but about HBCUs in general. Why do you think there's such a negative stigma as it pertains to HBCUs? And feel free to go in any order you want.
Well, like I was telling you earlier, the students that I worked with this summer, we were having a discussion about college. And they were basically saying, well, I want to go to Clemson and I want to go to USC. I want to go to this, PWI. And I asked the question, well, why? Why do you want to go to these different colleges? So most of those younger, what we call them scholars, they were talking about mainly about sports. So I had to school them, and I was like, well, South Carolina State produced a whole lot of different athletes that are in the league now to this day. And they were like, really? I was like, yeah. So I pulled my laptop out and I actually showed them. I was like, look, this is what you can expect from me if you go to HBCUs. It's not all about partying, but it's nature versus nurture. If you go to a white institution, they're going to honestly think that, you already know this. So I don't have to build you up on what you don't know. But if you go to a black university, well, they're going to build you up because of who you are. So after, I showed them that, they were like, well, I'm going to tell my dad or I'm going to tell my mom that, this is what I want to do. This is another college that I wanted to go to. So hopefully they take that advice and change their mind about going to a PWI.
I've heard a lot of negative connotations about people wanting to go to HBCUs because of cost. Everybody's all like, it's a private college. This is going to be, I will be honest with you. I walk around with people who went to USC's and people who went to Benedict's and all that. We all got debt. None of us are cheaper than the other. We all have bills and we all have debt. None of us was like, "Whoa, my debt lower than yours." No, we all paying back people. So that's a big thing that's a myth buster. Well, it costs more. They all are costing a lot right now. And another one, like you said, was sports. I wish we pushed more of our talented athletes to go to these schools to keep them rolling instead of sending them to the others, because it would make our schools stronger. And another one is they, like you said, Hook, you made the comment about they make us, or the HBCUs, they make us feel like it's a secondary choice. Me and Ms. Hall Jacobs were talking earlier. HBCUs are sometimes harder to get into than some of these other schools as well. It ain't that you don't want to go there. You better hope you got the GPA and the SAT scores to where they want you, because they don't take just anybody.
And I think a lot of people um, shy away because they don't feel that they're going to get a good education like they would at a PWI. So I think a lot of people, that's just a stigma that that PWI is going to provide you with a better education and you're going to get a better job and be well prepared or better prepared for your job versus going to a HBCU, which is not the case at all.
I was previously married to an HBCU grad. Let me be honest with y'all. Black History Month was always embarrassing for me. Why? Because he knew stuff and he knew people I did not know because they taught that there. There was a certain level of pride in himself that they taught there. There is a certain level of networking in Columbia, in any place I've seen. There's a networking level amongst HBCU grads that you can't touch. And it's something that you miss when you go sit in a classroom full of 3,000 kids in a stadium versus that 101 classroom. You got teachers, you still remember their names.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell you but one that I know, and that's because she told a story about how this one maid she know did not want to take care of them people's kids. But I don't know them like that. I didn't have that one-on-one feel that your students get from you in the public school system. But a lot of HBCU grads have that professor that said, "Come here, let me talk to you." You don't see that often. So that nurture and that nature that's needed during that hard time.
And it is definitely there. When I took my daughter down for her registration, I ran into one of my old professors from the education department, and she remembered me. And I'm gonna give her a shout out, Dr. Janice Belton Owens.
All right, Dr. Owens.
So, and she told my daughter, and I told her she's coming, but she's not an education major. And she immediately told my daughter her office, where her office was located, a phone number, how she can get in touch with her. And she said, while you are down here, I am your grandmother. Anything you need, just call. I don't think you would have got that from a PWI.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't because, and I was telling those same students, I was like, you're a number when you go to a PWI, but when you go to an HBCU, they get close to you. Like you get a deep relationship with that professor. And I named three of them to be exact, and those that Dr. Robinson, Dr. Margaret Felder Wilson, and Stephanie Phillips, they basically took care of me while I was at South Carolina State.
That's a beautiful feeling.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Jamie, what about you?
So, from a different perspective, as educators, especially those of us that came from HBCUs, we have our work cut out for us as far as removing the ignorance that is out there about HBCUs. There's a negative stigma that comes from a lot of teachers, a lot of school counselors that just don't know. So they speak on experiences that they necessarily didn't have, but just on what they may have heard about the whole negative connotation of what takes place at an HBCU. I hear the word party school often associated with an HBCU. Oh, Benedict's a party school, State's a party school. But there's an institution down there, your alma mater, Hook. Y'all a part of the school in America. You know what I'm talking about? Y'all boys own 5 points. And that's not to throw shade or anything. I mean, we know how to have a good time, but we also take care of our business in the classroom. But there are some life lessons to be learned from the experiences that you have at an HBCU. Like people always talk about the registration line. You go to, I remember going to South Carolina State and standing in the registration line for about 3 hours. And I finally got to the front. And the lady said, "I'm going to lunch. I'll be back." So
or you have to get back in another line
till they came back, or you go and get back in that line and hope you get to the front. But as you become an upperclassman, you learn tricks and you learn how to slide in that side door and cut the line and let those freshmen up. But that's one of the things that teaches you patience in life. You know what I mean? It teaches you patience that that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There are life lessons and all that. We talk about refunds, right? And I know Liberta can probably talk. I know Derek probably didn't have this experience, but getting refunds, when it was refund time, we'd have to wait in that line. People wouldn't go to class, but they'd be in that line 7 o'clock in the morning to get refund. and it would be a waiting experience. Whereas at a PWI, it's direct deposit. Boom, it's in your account, and boom, you're
Yeah,
going about your business. You probably get
yeah,
it the next day. You know what I'm
right.
saying? But
day.
it taught you to manage. You know, there's a life lesson in every, I guess, sour story that you hear from it. There was always a life lesson learned. But you know, as educators that are products of HBCUs, we have to continue to fight the fight to remove the ignorance, because there is a silver lining, like I said, in all of these rough experiences.
And you
There's
guys,
very little known.
brought up a couple of different things, right? That I really wanted to touch on. The first thing you brought up was athletics. I think it's important to note that South Carolina State University has more NFL Hall of Famers than both USC and
That's right.
Clemson
That's right.
combined.
Right.
From Little South Carolina State, and they have current players in the league who are Pro Bowlers, who are All Pro. So it doesn't matter where you go; is what you do when you get there. And and in terms of also with athletes, and the reason why I say that I wish that all of our top recruits who go to D1 schools would like the bigger D1 schools would consider HBCUs. The fact is, they ain't going to school to graduate anyway.
Right.
To be honest with you, they're not going there to get a degree. They're going there to go to the NFL or wherever. And these
That's right.
schools, they don't have a vested interest in these kids outside of football. You know what I'm saying? So they're not preparing them for life
For
after
life.
football. Secondly, Kadera and Chris touched on this: the build up and the nurturing and not being just a number. When I went to school, I majored in education. Teaching. I wanted to be a teacher. You know what I'm saying? And one of my professors, he didn't like me because I always challenged him. He would say something, and I give him facts, but he called me disruptive or whatever. And pretty much, it all came down to it. I ended up having to change my major just so I can graduate
Yeah.
because he had pretty much railroaded me. Whenever it was time for like recommendations or whatever, he would never recommend me, primarily because the label on me was I was problematic or whatever, when that wasn't the case. But it's like they didn't like the fact that a young black man was able to articulate stuff the way that I was, and they saw it as being, some people think that they want you to stay in your lane and know your place. It was kind of one of those things. But I appreciated the experience because now I can share that insight. But had I gone to an HBCU, like you said, you go there, you meet an older person, you may know them. They're like, hey, while you here, I'm your grandmother, or I'm this, I'm that, and that's the experience that you're gonna have at a PW at an HBCU. I'm sorry, that you will not have at a PWI. And Chris, I interrupted you. You were gonna say something.
No, you got a good one because I got a fully loaded parent question coming from parents, and I want all of you as educators to answer this big parent question. From SAT to ACT to GPA to what courses, college prep, honors, all of these things that these kids are mentioned to, or when you get in the guidance council, she go, they put your kids here, 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 here. What should we be doing to prep our children to get to this place where they can be nurtured and natured and they can get that grandmother take care of my baby experience versus classmate number 50 in the classroom? Like, I don't want my kid to be sick. My kids don't, Liberta know my kids. My kids don't got the focus to sit inside of a stadium. You got to talk to my son.
All right. So I put my school counselor hat back on for a second. There was one time where the student with the high GPA got all the money. Student with high GPA, the valedictorian, salutatorian, they could get all the scholarships and things of that nature. Now these schools are looking for the well-rounded student, the student that has been exposed, the student that participates in the fine arts, the student that's an athlete, multiple sport athlete, that participates in clubs in their communities, that's very active in the community, has community service record already prior to coming in. The GPA is important. Yeah, of course, that's the foundation. But how well-rounded are you? Are you just a smart student that's a bookworm? You haven't done anything else?
Right.
All of these things matter because there are so many scholarships that are out there and available. You just have to go looking for them. I mean, there are scholarships for students that have deceased parents. There are scholarships for left-handed students.
Left-handed, right?
Scholarship for students from certain places in America. You know what I mean? You just have to go out there and look to find these things.
as far now, and here's the misconception about GPA and scholarship. You know, the GPA is important, but the test score is just as important. You know, you have to have a test score that matches that GPA. Because you out there with a 3.9 and a 900, you're not gonna get much scholarship money with that. I'm just gonna be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know, and there are so many prep opportunities out there where students can go in there, proven prep opportunities that can raise that score. But here's the other part about it. You know, the test. I'll say the test, and I'm not talking about one in particular. It's a big market. It's a money business. So you know, every few years, one test will kind of pipe it down a little bit, make the test a little easier, and it'll force students to go take SAT. All right, everybody taking SAT because they're getting those high scores. And
Right.
ACT will see that, and they'll adjust their standards a bit, and everybody go take ACT because everybody's you know, soaring on the ACT. Well, you know, the colleges have become hip, and a lot of the schools now are even becoming test optional. So you know, especially a lot of the major universities are becoming test optional. So then again, you don't have that test score factor in there. Now, what have you done? So that goes back to being a well-rounded student. What type of community service record do you have? A lot to go along with that GPA. You know, it's a little bit for me. I don't want to take all the time.
No, that's awesome.
And
Come on
Jamie,
in, Loretta.
okay. And Jamie, you know, you said a mouthful. You said just about everything, but one thing that I want to tell our parents is when it comes to scholarships, our children, and when I say our children, I'm talking about our African American children, they shy away because they have to write a 300 to a 500 word essay.
Yep.
Mhm.
Essay. So, and you know, I'm proud of my daughter. She has a full ride going to South Carolina State for 4 years, and she's in the honors college. Outside of that, she wrote. I stayed on her back. I had her working on maybe 5 essays in 1 week for scholarships. So outside of that, she's gotten over $30,000 in scholarships.
Wow.
Woo!
Because she has that full ride, that scholarship money outside is now for the independent scholarships. That's now going to her banking account.
Absolutely.
That's
Yes,
now going to her
sir.
savings account since she now have that full ride. So parents, do not let your children. There are free rides out there. Now there's also, while we're talking about scholarships, there is a group. There's a book called Pace Scholarship, and I think the author is Melinda. I want to make sure I'm saying her name correctly. Is it Leoborn?
Yes.
She's
Let me get that
she's
information
on
to you.
Facebook. Yep.
It's on Facebook.
Yeah,
She
she's outstanding.
has a dynamic book with all types of scholarships from middle school through graduate school. She also does lots of workshops. I took my kids to her workshops. And she does workshops on essay writing, test prep. So that's a good opportunity that parents could jump on as well. But there's lots of there's lots of free money out there. Our students do not want to write essays. So with
No.
that being said, because my kids did not like to write essays as well. With that being said, I am a strong advocate for AVID. So parents, if there's AVID in your school, please make sure that your child is in that AVID class. That class is the class that taught my daughter is dyslexic, but she's going on a full ride. Okay?
Say it again.
Dyslexic, she works hard, but she's going on a full ride. That's because of the AVID class taught her how to do test taking strategies. That AVID class also taught her how to do note taking and how to write essays. So even with her disability, or even if your child has a disability, full rides are still available to them. But I'm a strong advocate for AVID. So if AVID is within your school, parents, please make sure that your child is in that AVID class.
AVID is amazing.
It is amazing. Now I teach AVID. I'm AVID trained, so I teach AVID strategies to my 3rd grade. And that's another thing. When it comes to HBCUs, we have to educate our students about HBCUs. If we don't talk to them and educate them on what an HBCU is, what takes place at an HBCU, what different options you have with HBCUs, they won't know. My Avid College wallet in my classroom consists of nothing but various HBCUs. And
all the places you will go.
all the places you can go. All the places you can go. During Black History Month, or throughout the entire school year, I'm talking about different HBCUs. During Black History Month, all of my students, whether they're Caucasian, Latino, African American, all of my students during Black History Month, they work on a project. Their project is they choose 2 to 3 HBCUs that they have to research.
Okay.
And then they have to do a presentation, and then I take their presentations and they present it. I'm also the chair of the Black History Month committee at my school, so they present these things to the other students during the Black History Month program.
Okay.
So, but if we don't educate our students about HBCUs, then our guidance counselors are going to continue to push the Clemsons, the Winthrops, the USCs. So we have to educate our students.
You are the reason that my son aspires to go to a HBCU, and his big sister too. But that's because they got, and I mean, of course, you know, they grew up around it as well, but you horned in on it. None of my kids want to stay in Columbia, and I'm so glad. I really appreciate you.
And Kadira, we're gonna grab you in a second, but first we're gonna get a few words from our sponsors. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, good evening, man. I just got your number from Black Dollar NC. I wanted to see if you were available tomorrow for a cleaning job by, let's say, 8 p.m.
All right, we back. Kadira, you wanted to add something to that?
Oh yeah. Well, first, Miss Labrita, I like that idea. And I'm gonna take that back to Brookdale. Them kids go to colleges and they gonna present them. I love that idea. But
Well, I can tell you, outside my classroom, the wall outside my classroom consists of the various HBCUs and information about them, and that wall stays up throughout the school year. So as kids from different grade levels are traveling through the hallway, they have the opportunity to stop and get that information.
Now, see, we have the colleges up, but it's more than just HBCUs that are up there. But I like that. I think I'm fixing up my classroom. So yeah, thank you. I'm jotting all of that down. But to piggyback on what you said, I was one of those students who shied away from writing scholarships. Why? Because I didn't think that I was a good writer. So for those people that are going to college now, or you're preparing, junior, senior, write these scholarships, because these loans, they something serious. Like right now, right now, I was just looking at how much I owe back for loans, and I was like, oh my God, I gotta stop paying these people. So, scholarships and grants, like, make sure that you get those things, because they will help when you go to college.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's a big deal. Some of us have, so the fear, the hurtful thing I experience is that many of us have what we owe in loan is more than what we make a year after we graduate.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
But so a lot of parents are talking about going to scholarship.com or these sites that say, come here. But every time you click on something, it takes you to, do you run? Hit yes. Do you jump? Hit no. And by the time you finish hitting all that, you don't want to get there. So the PACE Academy is a good place to go to get scholarships. Where are other good sites or a good place for us to get those?
Well, I'm going to tell you, my daughter, a lot of her scholarships, her guidance counselor told her about a lot of her scholarships. And of course, I got a lot of guidance counselor friends because I've been in education. So, they would send me the different scholarship pages, websites from the different schools. But my daughter had a wonderful guidance counselor at Westwood High School. And so she found out about a lot of the scholarships that she applied from. through her guidance counselor. And that is something that parents should ask when you meet. Like, I met with my daughter's guidance counselor at least 2 or 3 times within the school year. And that's a question that you should ask. What scholarships are out there? What scholarships are available?
So we shouldn't. So, and that's one thing, like the question that said, going to the websites. Many of us want to Google it, but we get stuck in these advertisements.
Mhm.
The reality is, go to the schools, talk to the teachers. And I got a question. Like, I want to start taking my daughter on college tours. Can we also start going to these schools and talking to the advisors there and kind of having them mentor her before she gets up there? Like we get a person down there we keep in contact with.
You should be able to.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
See, these are things that a lot of parents don't realize. Don't just go visit on game night to show what the Friday night lights look like at the HBCU or the college you choose to, but take your child to that college during the week, meet with an advisor, let them know your child has interest, and let someone there help mold your child into what they qualify to get into. And I know you mentioned about that SAT score shouldn't be no 900. So what should it be?
Think about, so I always talk about, the cutoff for state scholarships as being an aiming point. So you're talking 1100 SAT, 24 ACT, and up. And I'm a segue, since we were talking about athletics too. There's something called the NCAA clearinghouse that's your qualifying agency for any student that goes on to play, to participate in athletics on the collegiate level. And that is dependent upon test score and GP as well. And currently, that mark is 2.3, but it's 2.3 core. All right. So you talk about core courses, you're talking about English, math, science, social studies, and foreign language. That's pretty much what's going to count as far as those core courses when you talk about NCAA clearinghouse. So you have the star high school football player that's a 5-star athlete. They have to have a 5-star transcript to match,
Right.
or they're not going to be able to even get a look. And so, oftentimes you'll hear the students talk about, well, I want to go to Clemson, I want to go to Carolina, and they don't say the HBCUs. One thing I always tell athletes, being a former coach, you go, if you want to participate in athletics on the collegiate level, you go where they want you. You can't go where you want to go. You go where they want you. Because if they want you, that means that they're going to take one of their scholarships to pay for your college tuition for those 4 years.
Right.
Whereas you want to go, you're talking about going and trying to be a walk-on and hope that you can earn a scholarship. It's a lot of hope and wishes out there on that sideline that you might only be out there 1 year and you got to find a job to pay for school. So I just wanted to throw that piece in there.
No, that's good.
It's
That's
funny
really
that
good
you.
information.
It's funny that you said that because I didn't really learn about the clearinghouse until that experience with my nephew. He's currently at North Greenville right now. He's just finished his freshman year, so he's playing football down there. He got it. He got a scholarship, ain't got to pay for school or any of that. And we went through the whole clearinghouse thing. Luckily, he was a great student. He was in the top 10 in his class, so we really didn't have to worry about that huddle. But when you mentioned going someplace where they want you, you know what I mean? So it's like, because Wofford offered him a walk-on opportunity. And I was like, man, if you're going to walk on to Wofford, you may as well go to USC and walk on. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to be a walk-on. But the thing is, North Greenville, he wanted 2 things. He wanted to be able to go to school, and he wanted to be able to play football. So he wanted to major in engineering. But they gave him 2 of the things he wanted. So that's the only reason that he chose that school. But it's funny that you mentioned that the whole clearinghouse thing. But I do want to ask you guys, like, and this was the conversation that I was having with one of my daughters earlier. Like, in terms of honors classes and advanced classes and all those things, like, is there really a significant difference? And does it matter if you have the honors attached to the classes you take? Or, like how does taking honors courses as opposed to advanced courses negatively impact you or positively impact you? Or is there an impact at all?
And college prep courses, because you see those different titles in there.
All right, so I'll speak on the courses. So when you get into high school, all courses are weighted. Um, college prep has a weight, then honors has a weight, and then AP and IB has another weight. So honors, as a rule, is point 0.5, uh, point 0.5 of a GPA point higher than CP, and then AP and IB is a point higher. All right, so you think about a 4.0 scale. Uh, if an A was 4.0, then on the honor scale, it would be 4.5.
Right.
On the IB AP scale, it would be 5.0. Okay, so that's how that works. So, of course, it's going to affect your GPA, number one. It's gonna, of course, it's gonna be more weight. Of course, the course is gonna be more rigorous. So that's one thing to think about. But if a student has the ability to perform in honors classes, I would say push them to take those honors classes, and even to go the a lot of schools have begun to explore even deeper into the dual enrollment route. Now, I can
Right.
speak for my school district. We have what we call a STEM Early College Academy. So on average, for about the last at least 4 years, we've had about 20 students per year to graduate with both their associate's degree and their high school diploma at graduation. So they're entering their 4-year college, some as a second semester sophomore, some as a junior, at 18 years old. Uh, and that's a program that we do with Midlands Tech. So a lot of schools have begun to do that with their neighboring technical colleges or whatever the case may be. Now that takes a lot of pressure off parents because you get a lot of that foundational stuff out of the way, and they're pretty much going into school what we call in their major.
Right.
Um, so that helps a lot. But you won't be able to get there if you're not pretty much on that honors track. So, like I said, if the student has the ability or if they have the work ethic, I would push them towards taking those higher level courses when they're in high school. And the benefit is there, should they be able to handle the rigor and make it through those courses.
So, question. You mentioned about the dual degree, like you can graduate with your associates in different things. Is that because you're taking AP and honors courses, or is that because you're taking college course, like they're labeled college courses?
So you're actually taking in a dual enrollment program. You're actually taking college courses. Like you would take
Got it. Okay.
English 101, English 102, Math 120, Math 155, or whatever the case may be, and you actually take those courses through that college.
Okay. Okay. Perfect.
Now
That's to make sure
AP
no
and
one
IB
confuses
work a little
advanced
bit
notes.
differently. With AP and IB, you take the course and then you take an exam. So you have to pass that exam to get the credit. You have to make a 3 or higher on the AP exam to get that AP credit, to get that college credit or whatever the case may be. Whereas with dual enrollment, and this is the difference, I'm just putting it out there for educational purposes. With dual enrollment, if you take the course and successfully pass the course, then you could obtain that college credit.
That's a big thing to know. A lot of people don't know these are the options. And sometimes we need to. Sometimes we need to understand the trades, the college options, and the different things to prepare our kids for life. I do feel like even though we are more knowledgeable than our parents were, we also are more coddling than our parents were. And we are waiting until Libretta and I talked about this. You can't wait until your child's in the 11th or 12th grade and go, all right, game time. Now we got to get you ready. No, that stuff start. Miss Hall Jacobs been on us since these kids was in third grade. She not lying about them reports. It starts early, and yes, I have a freshman, well, a rising sophomore right now, but we're treating her sophomore year like it's her senior year,
Right.
and then next year and keep on going. I can chuck off this year to COVID, but I cannot do that the whole way around. And for my son, we got to start from middle school up. And I don't want to be one of them parents that thinks that the only way you're gonna get it is from sports, because there are other ways to succeed without a ball. And we don't push that like we need to. So this is why everything you're telling us, parents, are writing it down. Kids gonna be sick of y'all tomorrow, because we digging in schedules come tomorrow. But it's a conversation to have, because if it's not a football or basketball or volleyball or track scholarship, then we're not writing essays, we're not pushing for different things, we're not checking the type of classes, we're looking at good grades and homework. Like Hook said, we don't know HBCU, we just know that we got ours. But how do you make sure they get theirs? And we need to pay attention to the titles behind it. I knew honors had a weight. I ain't gonna lie to you, I didn't know about the other one. So what is,
Yes,
if
indeed.
you have a child in middle school right now or in high school, what should we as parents be doing to make sure that they can become like one of us or like one of you as a successful graduate? I heard y'all give different graduation dates too. I got one date. Some of y'all got like 3 and 4.
I'll say as a parent, the main thing you need to do is be involved. Be involved, okay? Know what kind of classes your student is signing up for, or know what kind of classes your student is being recommended for. Because there were some classes that my daughter was recommended for, but I know her ability, she could have taken something different. So I, overrode. I went and sat down with the guidance counselor. We talked, and I did an override and got her in a couple of honors courses, and she was successful in them. But make sure that your student is not just taking the easy way out, because A, like we say in CP, is totally different from an A in honors and AP. Make sure that you're making your child work to their ability and not just taking the easy way out.
That is so true. To piggyback when you said for the parents to be involved. Before I came to Orangeburg, I used to work in Allendale. So a lot of the parents who knew me working in Allendale, I've had a couple of seniors who were like, they messed my schedule up, they messed this up, or they messed that up. So I've had some parents who come to me and I was like, well, why are you taking this course at this particular time when you should have already taken this, your freshman year, your sophomore year, and you're just now taking this your senior year. Yeah, they're saying I may not graduate. So parents, just be involved. Know what your child is taking, know what they're taking and when they're supposed to take it.
And I'm gonna tell you just how involved I am with my personal kids. My daughter was struggling in a class, and the things that she was telling me, I just wanted to go in and see what was going on in the class. Was the things she telling me true that was going in? Now she was a junior. And I know I embarrassed her, but I went to the school and I sat in the class. I sat in the class because I wanted to see what was going on. Why was she struggling? What kind of help could she get? So I did. I sat in the class. And after I sat in the class, I called a meeting with the principal and the guy and her guidance counselor. And we talked and we got some things changed. And that, it became a success for her. Be involved, parents. You have to be involved. You have to know what's going on in those classrooms.
I
And if I
agree. I
can
think
give,
that was one of our biggest downfalls as kids. Our parents weren't, for me, they weren't involved like that. Nobody was sitting in the classroom. It was get your lesson and make sure your report card don't show you're failing. As long as I made it every 9 weeks, ain't nobody on my back.
there it is. And if I can give one more piece of advice to parents, there's something that beginning in the 8th grade that every child is going to have, and it's called an IGP conference. All right, it's individual
Right.
graduation plan. And that conference pretty much discusses where your child is, what their GPA is, any
Right.
tests that they'll be taking in the upcoming year, and you also develop the schedule for the next year so you'll know what classes or what courses your child should be taking. And
What's
that's the
that called
time when you
again,
can
Jamie?
IGP,
IGP.
individual graduation plan. It begins
That's
in the
that
8th
conference
grade.
we
You
had.
have one
Okay.
every year. And in that conference, you discuss all of those things that we're talking about right now. And oftentimes, I've seen many parents miss those, and or you have to chase them down to get them to come to the conference. But that's a very important time because you're pretty much setting up your child's future. Because oftentimes in those conferences, you talk about the many scholarships that are available and what your child needs to do to get this scholarship, that scholarship. Go to your school's parent nights when they're talking about transitioning from ninth grade to 10th grade, 10th grade to 11th grade, because that information is there. We have to go get it. But that's a very important piece. Just remain involved, like Labetta said. The involvement is very important.
Absolutely. And the thing is, and we've got a few minutes left, and my last question for you guys is really going to be a two-parter. And one of the reasons I'm gonna ask this is because going into college, I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do, what I wanted to major in. I had people telling me major in computer science so you can make a lot of money, but hell, I don't like math. So why am I going to get a whole major and I can't stand math? So they're telling me to do this, but no one ever had a conversation. What do you like to do? Where do you see yourself? So the question I have for you guys, and you can answer it individually, is one, um, uh, how does how do kids go about selecting a major? Or how can we help our children develop a major? And the second part is, I want you to also give us any takeaways you have, any bit of advice for not just parents but also students. And you guys can feel free to go in any order you want to go in.
When I decided my major, and when the kids decide on a major, what do you like? What do you have a passion for? What will you enjoy doing every day? What are you going to work hard as far as your coursework? And like I said, when I decided my major, I knew that I wanted to be a teacher. I knew I had a passion for teaching. And I knew, even though some days I get up, I'm like, I don't want to go to work today, but I know once I get there, I'm going to enjoy what I'm doing.
Mm.
That's for one. For two, go out there and research, because no one wants to graduate with a 4-year degree and you cannot find a job to pay back your student loans. Go out there and research what types of majors are wide open fields. What type of majors have jobs available? Those are some things that's my advice to the kids.
Absolutely. And do you have any takeaways, any bit of advice for the parents and also the students?
For parents, like I said, my advice to you is be involved in your child's education. Make sure you know which courses they are taking. Make sure you push them to work to their fullest ability. And for the students work hard. Don't just try to take the easy road out. Do your research when it's time for you to go to college. Know the courses that you need, know the courses that you're taking. Take school serious. And when you do get to college, whether you choose an HBCU or whether you choose a PWI, you are there for a reason. Make sure you don't waste any money. And last but not least, go get some of those, go write those essays, get some of that free money, because it's tons out there.
Good stuff. All right, Jamie, what you got?
I guess like we said, as far as choosing a major, I'm gonna go back to what I just spoke about with that whole IGP process. In that IGP process, the school counselor or the career person is going to discuss the 16 career clusters. All right. Now, one thing that I'm glad that the state is pushing now that was kind of taboo when I came through school was, introducing students to careers at an early age, and giving them an opportunity to actually experience those things. Our schools are working very closely with the career centers and allowing students to go into things like the nursing programs or the engineering programs or the welding programs or whatever the case may be. Because truthfully, every student is not going to college. Some students are going to go into the workforce, but whatever the case may be, have a plan. When you get that opportunity, probably starting at the end of your freshman year or going to your sophomore year, and you get to see, it's easy to say, I want to be a nurse, but then you can't stand the sight of blood. If you can't stand the sight of blood, you can't be a nurse. So getting that experience early so that you can see what that career is all about, that gives students, some type of outlook of what they could possibly be going into. So I would say, take meaningful electives to go along with your core classes. Look at what the course of study is or the program of study is for a major. Declare a major in high school and complete those courses and see if that's what you're cut out for. That's the main premise behind that IGP conference. It's almost like declaring a major, and it is declaring a major in high school, so that you can see what that is about. And take that opportunity to take those meaningful electives. Outside of that, for parents, like I said, I'll piggyback on what Labetta said, to remain involved throughout your child's schooling. In elementary school, all the parents show up because the kids are cute and they're going to be in some type of program and they just want to see what's going on with school. In middle school, it starts to slack off a bit. Some of the parents still come around, but it starts to slack off a bit. When you get to high school, it's almost like, oh, they're grown now, they're on their own, I don't need to go to the school anymore. And that's probably the most important time that you need to be there, because you're setting up your child's future to move into adulthood. So, you're helping them to make those decisions, and you speaking from a place of experience, you're speaking from a place of wisdom to help your child with those decisions. So again, parents, like I say, if I can give you a piece of advice, just please remain involved.
All right, good stuff. All right, Kadera, bring us on.
Um, Lastly, just saying that if you know what you want to do, if it's your dream to be, let's just say, my dream was a teacher. I knew I wanted to be a teacher. I remember when I was younger, I used to set my sister's dolls and baby whatever, all that, and just sit it there, and I'm sitting there teaching them. So I knew what my dream was. Even though when I went to South Carolina State, I ran away from it was because of the praxis test, but I went right back to it with my master's degree. Now it took me a while, but I persevered and I went through it and I succeeded. So whatever your dream is, research it, go through the motions. Sometimes you're gonna have some setbacks, but a setback is like a major come up. Okay. And parents, I'm an elementary teacher, so I see a lot of them in the elementary setting, but just like Jamie said, in the middle school, they start slacking off. And then in high school, it's worse. And I'm a testament to that, because in elementary school, my mom was there. She was, she went and went. Then in middle school, it was like, okay, my first day of school, I was just there. High school is like I had to go meet with the guidance counselors and talk to them and ask different questions. So parents, I just say stay involved, push your child to their highest potential. And those are my closing comments.
All right, good stuff,
I
man.
appreciate it. Y'all hit us with some good stuff. For all parents, we know that a perfect SAT score is a 2400, a perfect ACT is a 36. We know that we want our kids to start doing these. We don't want them perfect. If they can, good luck to you, but we're looking for them to have a good range and a good level. So go research the ACT and the SAT. Find out how close your child is to the 3.0. What do they need to do to get there? Find out what your child needs to get to the ACT or the SAT score that gets them into the school. Ask your kid what school they want to go into, and then look at what that school's requirements are. Make sure that we're checking and we're learning and that we're watching and monitoring. We monitor these credit scores. So monitor these kids' college scores and their SAT scores. It's a lot of SAT prep. It's an app for everything, darn it. It's an app for it all. We have no excuse no more. Power School, like Miss Rice said, I'm so nosy. I sign into my kids' Google Classroom. I don't want that parent version. I want to see theirs. So when the teacher talks to them, sometimes I be replying. Wait a minute, that's tell the teacher you're gonna get it done. I'm sorry, but I'm their Google Classroom is signed into my phone. I see all their emails, all their missing assignments. I'm in Power School all the time. I check everything, because if you don't know what's going on, it'll slide by you so fast, and before you know it, you go from all my baby got to play to got dog graduation coming up and I got pictures, and it happens just like that. So it is important for us to go to the IGP
IGP.
conferences and talk to the guidance counselors. When me and their father was on it for it, my oldest child, it was a couple of people on that call because we had to do a Zoom since COVID, but there was a big call. We talked about different classes and different things, and I learned about classes I didn't even know schools had right now. It's also big to check what courses she's taking. Me and Liberta were talking earlier. Why she don't have this behind this course? And let's check that. It's time for a village communication. So she got a village communication coming up this weekend.
It sure does.
We got to do it, and I appreciate everything because I don't think that we as parents realize it's bigger than good grades on a report card. We brag about them grades on a report card, but that, like you said, you got to be well rounded. That GPA ain't going nowhere if you smart, but your SAT scores are 600 because you spelled your name right. Because if we can Google answers for everything test wise to get through school, so that makes a lot of sense. And I'm glad they are looking for well-rounded kids, because just because you don't have a perfect GPA don't mean I'm not active in the community, in the sports, and I'm not a smart child that tests well. I just might have had a rough year.
And
Absolutely.
parents, I also want to say, make sure your kids do some community involvement or mentorship. Because schools, believe it or not, on their college application, they're going to ask you for that. That could determine. My oldest didn't get into the honor society at Spring Valley High School because she didn't have enough community involvement, which it was hard for her to do community involvement because she was playing band, she was in the marching band, she left marching band season, and she went to her basketball season, she left her basketball season and went to her softball season, all of that with a 4.0 GPA, but still could not get into the honor society because she did
Wow.
not have community service. So please make sure your kids are doing community service and being involved within their community.
Absolutely. And these are all conversations that it's better to have these conversations earlier rather than later. Get them into the habit now, because once they get to high school, if they haven't become accustomed to doing these things and really focusing on their grades, they're not. It's when you get to high school, you pretty much are who you are. So you don't want to, like you said, you don't want to get to your 10th, 11th grade year. Okay, now it's time to buckle down. No, go ahead and start that
Yep.
now. Work hard now so that when it comes that time, you don't have to worry about scholarship money. You don't have to worry about where you're going to school. You don't have to worry about what you're going to major in. So all of that, obviously, teachers, you guys do a great job, but a lot of that does begin with us parents as well, because whatever you guys teach them in school, we need to make sure that we're reinforcing when they get home as well. So again, this has been a great conversation. Very, you guys brought a lot of great dialogue. Certainly giving me as a parent a lot to think about. So, Chris, what are we discussing next week?
A whole lot of stuff to think about because I got homework. But listen, um, next week we're definitely going to talk about something that also impacts your child's education, but it impacts their well-being, and that's every relationship isn't successful. Life happens, but the ability to co-parent effectively is a skill, and many of us are not touching that. Just like they talked about how when it comes to showing up at your kid's school, everybody want to go, we all happy together, but you got to do the IGP meeting with the person you co-parent with. You got to show up at that school still as a united front and as a team throughout that entire process. If you don't know nothing else about them Sewell kids, the both of us coming, and we coming in there deep. I don't care what life is going on amongst us outside, because that's how we rock when it comes to our kids. We are like Wonder Twins unite when it comes to them things. So that's a big deal. So next week we are touching on co-parenting, the importance of co-parenting, the hindrance on your children when you can't co-parent right. What happens when one is selfish? How does it affect the child? So we're going to touch base on a lot of stuff that our community needs to know. We got to get better. We got to do better. And we're going to talk about doing better next week.
Absolutely, because I know I got a testimony, but we'll talk about that next week. So again, Jamie, Libretta, Kadera, you guys were phenomenal. I appreciate your
Absolutely.
commentary, appreciate your insight. Chris, as always, I appreciate you as
Wait a
well.
minute. You didn't tell me who the top commenters were so we can make sure the kids got school supplies.
Thank you, thank you for
The
reminding me.
top
See,
two
hey,
fantastic.
old man brain, man. All right,
Well,
so
we
our
gonna want you
top
to agree.
our top two commenters tonight were Tasha Rice and Teresa White.
All right, so Tasha Rice and Teresa Wright, I need you guys to inbox me. If not, I'm gonna find you, inbox you anyway. But what we've been doing the last 3 shows is, depending on what our topic is, we have giveaways. And today's show, I love what he did when he said a word from our sponsor. We are unapologetically pro-Black. I'm not gonna lie, we are HBCU-ish, we are Black wealthish, we are Black healthish, we are all of it. So you're going to start seeing these promos for Black businesses come up during the middle of our show. You're going to see us do giveaways to help the things that we support. You're going to see all of that. So last time we gave away workout gear because we did fitness. Before that, we did giveaways for a book because we talked about love languages, and we had a relationship coach on. And now we're going to talk about school supplies because I found out that Amazon gives you them preset kits. So you're not going out there going 1 glue stick, 3 pencils, 4 pens. So we're going to send those out to parents as well so that we can be better prepared for y'all when they come in the classroom. Please take them back in the classroom. We got masks. We'll send masks. Look at Chris' face.
Hey, they could come back in the class. That's fine. I don't have a problem.
I am not about this virtual hybrid learning life. I can't tell that boy to wake up no more.
Hey, but listen up. I want me one of those shirts right there. I want to be HBCU. Crystal.
That's another plug that we can do. There's a girl who does all of my shirts, Chelsea Simon. But Chelsea did this for us, y'all, yesterday in 30 minutes. She is an AKA. She ain't with none of y'all.
And she a part of that first fam? Okay.
She's a first fam. Chelsea went in and I said, me and Hook need HBCU shirts, but neither one of us went to an HBCU. So we're HBCU-ish.
That's all right. You're educating others.
That's right.
And all down the list, she's got Spelman, Howard, Benedict, Allen, Claflin, South Carolina State, Xavier, which is where my son wants to go, thanks to you, Tuskegee, Hampton. She has Morehouse. We have North Carolina A&T, which is where my daughter wants to go, FAM, and Clark Atlanta. And the kicker is that's not even the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the number of HBCUs we have here in the U.S. So Google it, check it, read it, review it. But Cordell, we'll definitely get you. We will make sure you get one.
Absolutely. And Tasha and Teresa will be getting with you guys soon. We looks like we got 3, so
we got 3. We'll even make sure they have little things like that now on the back of
That's it.
All right. So again, this was great, guys. This was phenomenal for the panelists. I appreciate you guys as well, man. This was awesome dialogue. For the audience, make sure you guys join us again next week. I got a feeling it's going to get a little testy, but we'll see how it pans out. So until next week,
get interesting.
We holla at you.
Peace.
Good night.
Night.